What do you say, everybody? Good to see you today. It is Friday, October 25. Great to see you, and thank you for joining us here on the Bill Press Show this beautiful Friday morning. A little chilly here in our nation's capital. Lots and lots to talk about. We're coming to you live from Washington, D.C. in our studio on Capitol Hill. Yesterday at the White House, President Obama bringing together a group of immigration activists in the East Room of the White House, a little pep rally, asking them to join him in calling on Congress to pass immigration reform by the end of the year. Yeah, fat chance that's going to happen. I know the president wants it to happen. It's going to be tough because Congress is all tied up now with trying to get a budget out by December 15 and then dealing with the possibility of another government shutdown looming on January 15. And, of course, I have to tackle the debt ceiling all over again on February 7. So good luck getting anything done, especially immigration reform. The White House, meanwhile, is got a global tempest on its hands over reports that NSA has been spying on some friendly nations and other world leaders. Brazil canceled a state visit because we were spying on them. The French this week got really out of sorts because we were spying on French leaders, and Angela Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany, called in our ambassador in Berlin to say, stop spying. Why are you spying on my cell phone? She even called President Obama to complain, and the New York Times reports we've been spying on up to 35 world leaders, and yet the White House continues to support NSA. Why? And the Cardinals even it up after an embarrassing play last night by the Red Sox. All that and more on this morning's Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Like, when I did it by myself, feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult.
Is the Bill Press Show.
What do you say, everybody? Fired up, ready to go. NSA causing a lot of problems for the White House. Looks like we have maybe snooped in on the conversations of 35 different world leaders. Whoa. Hey, and guess what? It's Friday. Friday, October 25. And good to see you on the favorite day around the Bill Press Show. Hallelujah, hallelujah, indeed. We love to see those Fridays roll around as we roll into the weekend, but not before. Spending the next 3 hours in our little town hall, daily town hall here on your local progressive talk radio station, on Free Speech TV, and on TawkrTV with all of you this Friday morning. And yes, a lot of bubble and trouble with NSA here in Washington, D.C. President Obama also trying to keep the comprehensive immigration reform fight alive yesterday. Bring a big crowd down to the White House to talk about that. And most members of Congress, or a lot of members of Congress yesterday, taking the day off to go down to Florida for the funeral of Congressman Bill Young. And here in Washington, D.C., the Center for American Progress, a great organization celebrating its 10th anniversary yesterday with appearances by California Governor Jerry Brown, Secretary of State John Kerry, and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, among other notables. Big day at the center. So good to see you today. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget, you can give us a call anytime. We want to hear from you. Join the conversation at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook. There we go, ready to capture the comments of all of our friends on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Good morning to all of you and to our team here, Peter Ogburn and Dan Henning.
Hey.
Good morning.
What do you say, guys?
Happy Friday.
Alicia Cruz here on the cell phones. Cell phones or landlines. Or
Whoever calls her.
Whatever, we'll take your calls. She's there to capture your calls, and Cyprian Bolden keeping us looking good on Current TV. Whoa, Free Speech and on TawkrTV.
Woo!
How long's it been since Current? Oh, man.
I'm glad we're sticking with a Friday tradition of screwing everything up.
We usually start off pretty
I've never heard of Current TV personally. I'm not sure what you're talking about. But
I never heard of Al Gore.
Who? A lot of liberals say that
right.
these
No,
days.
How about that? It's a big Friday.
Yeah, man.
For some of us here. It's the last Friday for Dan Henning.
That's right.
You hear about that?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I mean, Dan's going to Germany. He's going to try to work on their cell phone reception over there.
Going to work for my people's NSA.
Yeah, right. You should. Dan, moving on to greener pastures, he thinks.
Different pastures. Nothing's greener than the Bill Press pasture.
You got that right.
I mean, look, he calls it greener pastures. I call it Walmart greener. It's a step up for him. But as Dan has been learning to say, there's a smile on every aisle.
Blue light special, aisle 4.
Yes. Welcome Kmart shoppers, right?
Putting my announcing voice to good work.
Voiceover.
Someone has to give the in-store announcements.
Does Kmart still exist?
Yeah,
Yes.
Oh, they do?
Yes, they do.
Yeah. You know what I saw in New Orleans? I meant to tell you. I went into a market there. It was really a nice market. Rouse's? Is that a southern
it's a
chain?
local. It's specifically to Louisiana.
Oh, really?
I'm familiar with it. Yeah. But it's specifically to Louisiana.
It was I just noticed walking by, but it just looked good. It was a good store. Sort of like a not Whole Foodsy, but upscale.
It's all very, very local. It's like you couldn't walk into a grocery store here and find like a giant thing of crawfish, right? Yeah. Whereas you can at the grocery store in Louisiana. Rouse's.
All right, great. So, what do you say? We said it was going to be a good World Series. Proved to be last night. Well, at least an evenly matched, maybe World Series after the Red Sox clobbered the Cardinals. Thanks to some Cardinal errors in the first game. Last night, it was the Red Sox screwing up. They almost gave the game away to the Cardinals. And here in the 7th inning, just one example of the madness.
And he swings. It's a broken bat. Bloop, shallow left. Gomes coming on. He's there. He makes the catch. The runner's coming. Here's the throw to the plate, and it's offline. And here goes the runner to third. Breslow fires to third. He throws it away, and the Cardinals take the lead.
Yeah, it was one bad throw after another right there in the 7th inning.
Man.
And it ended up a final call from KMOX in St. Louis.
Swing and a miss. He struck him out. He fans the side, and the Cardinals even the series with a 4-2 win here tonight at Fenway Park.
It sounded like Vince Scully there for that final call for Cardinals.
No.
Not very exciting. They won the game, right?
They did, and they looked like a good team last night. It's like the team from Wednesday didn't even exist.
Right. It looked like the team that we've seen all in the playoffs. And so now they go back to...
They go to St. Louis.
St. Louis for Saturday, right?
With a little bit of a momentum.
Yeah.
The next 3 games are in St. Louis.
Really?
Yeah. So that's tough for the Red Sox.
Well, look, the Cardinals are not going to win them all, so they're going to go back to Fenway.
I wouldn't.
Right?
Sure. I don't know.
Probably.
I mean,
there's a. I don't know. I really don't know.
I don't know either. But by the way, I'll admit that.
Well, the last time that the Red Sox were in, they won it in 4 games. I mean, they didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, they won on the road and at home. So I mean, you never know. But I mean, when the Cardinals have their stuff together, they are without a doubt the most dominant team in baseball. It's just a matter of if they can catch them in mistakes and capitalize on those mistakes.
There we go. We'll keep you up to date on that. By Susan Paige from USA Today, our regular Friday guest here. She'll be along a little bit later in this hour. Van Jones, who is now on the left on Crossfire, a seat that I occupied for 6 years, will be here in studio with us, as well as Melanie Sloan from Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington. And what about all the spying on our friends? But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Other headlines making news on this Friday. We'll stay with baseball for a moment, where the questions are being asked. Did Boston Red Sox pitcher John Lester cheat during Game 1 of the World Series Wednesday night? That's what a minor league pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals alleged on Twitter. Tyler Melling snapped a TV still photo of a substance in Lester's glove and questioned whether it was Vaseline or another substance that would help him pitch better. Most experts, though, did agree it was likely pine tar, which pitchers use during cold weather for a better grip on the ball. Not exactly legal, but it's overlooked because it does help create safer pitches.
If you ain't cheating,
that's right,
you ain't trying.
That's damn right.
That's
True
the motto of the Bill Press Show.
Right.
A big push for clean cars. Governors of 8 states signed an agreement yesterday to put 3.3 million zero-emission vehicles on the road by 2025. That means they're promising to put in the infrastructure, including enough electric charging stations to make that happen, to get more electric, hydrogen fuel cell, and plug-in hybrids on the street, which excited automakers. CBS reports those states are California, Oregon, Maryland, New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Vermont.
Whoa. I mean, God, think about that. The cars won't pollute, and they'll drive themselves.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
They'll probably fly.
It's crazy, man.
And Ellis Island reopens on Monday, a year after it was flooded out during Hurricane Sandy. The historic building in the Hudson River, where 12 million immigrants came into America for the first time, is still under construction, but they've come far enough along to reopen it to visitors next week.
I had no idea it had been closed that long.
Yeah.
I didn't either. I saw it was going to reopen, and I thought that was because of the furlough.
Oh, no.
Shutdown.
No, it's been like it was underwater. The island was underwater in the hurricane.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, Dan, yes, thank you. I got to tell you, all the headlines today are about NSA. This is getting to be really serious, folks. Really serious. You know, it started, right, about a year or so ago, right? Now maybe not quite that long, with Edward Snowden, when word came out, the first documents he released saying that the NSA, National Security Agency, had been monitoring not just the conversations of suspected al-Qaeda terrorists, which we thought and which we would all support, but with the permission of the FISA court, that the NSA was monitoring our phone calls, yours and mine, and everybody you know, every single freaking person in the United States of America. They're monitoring your phone calls, which call you made, how long it lasted, who started the call, who received the call, and they say they weren't listening in on the calls, wink, 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 BS, but they were keeping track of every one of those calls because they said they had to build this metadata base, and only by building that haystack could they ever find the needle in the haystack, which would be the link to the terrorist. And a lot of us raised hell about that. Not enough of us, as far as I'm concerned. I think most Americans just sort of bent over and said, yeah, I'll take it. But so then the next revelation was, they were not just monitoring our phone calls, they were monitoring, and by the way, those aren't just phone calls overseas. They're phone calls made inside the United States. Every single phone call you make, landline or cell phone. The next source of wave of revelations was that they were also monitoring our emails. And with the cooperation of all the internet companies, they were able to keep track of our address book and all of our emails that we sent. All right, that's not bad enough. Then we found out that NSA was also spying on our friends and our allies around the world. It started with Brazil. They got bent out of shape. The president of Brazil canceled her state visit to the United States because she wasn't happy that we were spying on them. Early this week, France Le Monde reported that we were spying on the leadership of President Hollande and the leadership of France. They got so upset that they called the American ambassador in and complained to him and said, you got to stop this nonsense. And then Der Spiegel reported that Angela Merkel's cell phone, private cell phone, was had been tapped by the NSA. She got so pissed, she called President Obama. We talked a little bit about this yesterday. We know more about it now. And told President Obama to knock it off. And they didn't appreciate this. And the German government called in our American ambassador, John Emerson, my friend, and read the riot act to him. This all came up at the briefing yesterday, and Jay Carney said about, so the question is, all right, you say, and they had told us in an official statement after the phone call between Merkel and Obama, that the United States is not now monitoring her cell phone, eavesdropping, and will not in the future. The question is, did you do it in the past? Here's Jay Carney.
I'm just not going to, in this case or in other cases, get into specific allegations that have been made in published reports.
Yeah, which means what? Which means, yeah, we did.
Of course.
We just won't admit it. But he did say now with all these countries getting upset, the United States is reviewing how NSA operates.
We're reviewing the way that we gather intelligence. We are discussing the issues that have caused tension, the reports that have caused tension in some of our relationships directly with the countries involved, and we're going to continue to do that.
But authorities in Germany say, no, this is not the way friends treat friends.
For Germany, it is unacceptable.
Foreign minister here.
For Germany, it is unacceptable that the mobile phone of our federal chancellor may have been subject to surveillance activities by our American partners.
And after that, the New York Times revealed it's not just France, it's not just Brazil, it's not just Germany. The New York Times reporting that we have been monitoring the phone calls, right? Private phone calls, private phones of 35 world leaders. 35 of our friends were spying on our friends. I mean, if the report is true, and I got to tell you, after everything else,
why wouldn't it be true?
Now, not one thing we've learned from Edward Snowden has proven to be untrue so far, because he just puts the documents out there. I mean, this, folks, I'd love to know what you think about this 866-55-PRESS. I think it's pretty clear. NSA is out of control, totally out of control. And the problem is that the White House keeps defending NSA and says, well, this is what everybody spies on everybody else. Anyhow, this is kind of what we do. But a Washington Post reporting this morning, which is true, that this cause some real problems in our relationships with our friends and our allies around the world. We don't know who the rest of these 35 countries are. But there are trade deals underway. There are all kinds of regular relationships between these countries. This undermines the trust that they have with us. It undermines their confidence in us. It undermines their friendship with us. The EU is said to be maybe going to slap some sanctions on the United States or stop some trade deals until we agree that we're going to stop spying on our friends and our allies. Don't you think it's time the president ought to stand up and say, look, this is Bush and Cheney stuff. I don't support this stuff. This NSA is out of control. Instead, the White House keeps defending NSA. It's starting to worry me. It has been for a long time. So what do you think? The latest round of should we be spying on our friends? Or is that just what everybody spies on everybody else? We just accept the fact. 866-55-PRESS. Let's talk about it. Friday morning, Bill Press Show.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls? How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough. Enough. Enough.
Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act. Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
For us, spying on close friends and partners is totally unacceptable. This undermines trust, and this can harm our friendship.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 26 minutes now after the hour. By the way, I might have mentioned this yesterday on the air, or was off the air, but when I was in New Orleans, one of the people at our conference there for the American Bankers Association was Richard Clark, who was the cybersecurity expert in the White House for President George H.W. Bush and for President Clinton. He's the guy, remember, who kept on the job for George Bush, but was demoted. And for 9 months, he warned Condi Rice and President Bush personally, we got to talk about Al-Qaeda. You've got to call a meeting so I can brief you on Al-Qaeda and the threats to the United States. And they never called one meeting. They totally ignored him. And we know what happened on September 11. Richard Clark, when I asked him what he thought about NSA, he shrugged and said, we spy on our friends. End of story. Yeah. Comments, Peter?
We're on Twitter.
I think it's outrageous.
BP Shows, where you can find us on Twitter, BP Show.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who are following us who are making the argument. I'll just read one of them here from Ray Bilodeau, who says, "Do you really think we are not being spied on by by anyone who could get away with it?" So the whole argument here is that other world leaders are spying on us, so we have to spy back.
Well, let me just put it this way. If like Le Monde and Der Spiegel reported, if the New York Times reported that President Obama's personal cell phone and BlackBerry,
which we know he has,
was being tapped by the Brits or the French or the Germans or the Russians or you name it, the Swiss, we would be raising holy freaking hell, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Totally. We would say, wait a minute, there are limits. This was Angela Merkel's personal cell phone. She's calling her kids. She's calling her friends. She's calling her boyfriend. I don't know. Calling her hairstylist. And we're listening in on her phone calls. I'm telling you, the NSA is out of control. This is going to be real, even worse trouble unless Obama steps in here.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, what do you know? 33 minutes after the hour, that's what I know, on the Bill Press Show Friday morning. Oh, God, I'm so glad Friday's here. Friday morning, October 25, we are the Bill Press Show. We're coming to you live from our nation's capital. We're brought to you today in part by the Communication Workers of America, good men and women of the CWA, under President Larry Cohen. The Union for the Information Age, they are indeed, and you can find out about their good work, and more about their good work at their website, cwa-union.org. We've been talking about NSA before we move along, Peter.
Yeah, there is
a related story.
The NSA got a taste of their own medicine yesterday. A gentleman by the name of Tom Matsey was on the Acela train from D.C. to New York, and he noticed that former NSA Director Michael Hayden,
General Michael Hayden, whom I know,
was on the train and on the phone giving interviews off the record, making sure to not refer to him as anything other than former senior administrator.
Right. This is out. An off-the-record interview out loud
on an Amtrak train.
On the train.
Yeah.
Yeah. Idiot.
And and it wasn't just like Tom Matsey, who was tweeting, says, I'm on the Acela. Former NSA spy boss Michael Hayden just ended last of handful of interviews. He was bashing the administration. Just a few moments ago, he was bragging about rendition and black sites. Michael Hayden giving reporters disparaging quotes about the administration. Quote, remember, just refer to me as former senior administrator.
Yeah.
Out in public.
Yeah. I shouldn't have called him an idiot, maybe, but I would. No,
it's dope. It's an idiot thing to do.
If you did something like that, I would say as a friend, idiot.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm saying. So, yeah, I'll tell you what. That's why I go in the quiet car when I'm on the Acela Express. I go in the quiet car.
Yeah.
If you're on a bus or a plane or a train and you don't want anybody to hear your conversation, you don't make a phone call.
Right? Don't tell anybody that I'm giving these off-the-record quotes bashing the administration.
Yeah, he should have stood up on the car on the train car and said, "Hey, everybody, don't listen.
Yeah, don't repeat what I'm saying.
Don't repeat what I'm saying.
This is just between us."
Oh man, I gotta tell you. So the other thing that happened yesterday, of course. The Republicans, oh man, another chance to beat up on Obamacare. I'm surprised they didn't schedule a vote yesterday to repeal it for the 1,037th time. But instead, they convened a hearing of the House Energy and Commerce Committee to look into the fact that the website didn't start up. But look, that is a real problem. But of course, the Republicans convene a hearing not to fix the problem. The Republicans convene a hearing because they're still hoping they're going to kill Obamacare, which they're not. Henry Waxman, my good friend, Democrat from California, pointed out, let's just keep things in perspective here. We got some problems with the website, but everything else is working okay.
The Affordable Care Act is an enormous success, with one obvious exception. It has a poorly designed website.
Yeah, everything else is working out, so we got to fix the website. Anna Eshoo, another friend from California, up from the Bay Area, she must have been listening to the show here because she Anna, who's a good friend, should have said, quoting Bill Press, here's what they should have done.
I think that's really kind of a lame excuse. Amazon and eBay don't crash the week before Christmas, and Pro Flowers doesn't crash on Valentine's Day.
What did I say? The idea that too much traffic, that's what she's making. She was a lame excuse.
She was listening.
She was listening, right. That too much traffic. No. Forget about it. Yeah. Again, I said they should have contracted out to, we got one difference here. I said to Amazon or to Pro Flowers or to Walmart. She said eBay.
Yeah.
All right. Or eBay.
Another plug for Pro Flowers, though.
Or Costco. But sure. But Pro Flowers, they got it straight. So another Democrat, Frank Pallone from New Jersey, at least he came out front and said, let's just be honest here. You guys, meaning the leadership, you're not here to try to improve or solve any problems. You're just trying to kill it all over again.
I would just ask my Republicans, let's the goal here be to fix it, not nix it. And if that were your goal, I'd feel very good about this hearing, but I don't see that happening.
You know,
Put that on a bumper sticker.
But I never heard that phrase before.
Fix
but
it,
I like
not nix it.
Fix it, not nix it. Remember, way back in Bill Clinton's day, it was what was the issue? I forget now.
I'm stuck on the Ron Popeil, fix it and forget it.
But there was a similar case where something had screwed up. And the phrase was, mend it, don't end it.
Okay.
Mend it. It was affirmative action. It was affirmative action. Mend it, don't end it. So fix it, don't nix it. Yeah, it works. It works. But then Frank Pallone said, I mean, he really ripped the mask off this hearing yesterday.
No.
When people tried, he was trying to make a point and people interrupted. He called it just what it was.
No health information is required in the application process. And why is that? Because pre-existing conditions don't matter. So once again, here we have my Republican colleagues trying to scare everybody.
Will the gentleman yield?
No, I will not yield to this monkey court or whatever this thing is.
This is not a monkey court.
Do whatever you want. I'm not yielding. I am trying to tell you that the problem here,
protecting American citizens,
there are no pre-existing conditions.
Legitimate concern of this committee.
The pre-existing conditions don't matter. HIPAA doesn't apply. There's no health information in the process. You're asked about your address, your date of birth. You're not asked health information. So why are we going down this path? Because you are trying to scare people so they don't apply.
That's it. Good for him, Frank Pallone.
Yeah, right.
He's on fire. Yeah, he was making a very, very important point. That one of the things people are not pointing out about this whole process is that what used to be the case, right, where you would have to say, now here are all the maladies that I have had, and here are all the things that I suffer from and everything. No, doesn't exist anymore. You have to give your name, your address, date of birth, whatever, maybe Social Security number, I don't know, but you don't have to. You don't have to give any pre-existing conditions. And he's also making the point that what by the Republicans even holding this hearing, what they really are trying to do, Republicans love the fact that there are so many problems with this website, which is why I hate the fact that there's so many problems with this website, because I know the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare is a good plan. And I want it to succeed, and I know it will survive, and it will succeed. But this gives its enemies, its opponents, its critics another opportunity to go after it. And that's why they were using this hearing. You know, it's interesting because for too long, and I think to a certain extent Democrats have even been guilty of this. It started, I think, with Newt Gingrich. But congressional hearings should be for the purpose of getting information that members of Congress need, think about this, to do their job, right? So on any given field, they can't be experts in everything. They bring in experts, they have testimony, they learn, they write good legislation. Or they have a bill and they want to hear from both sides on this bill what its merits are, what the problems are with it, right? But congressional hearings have become now partisan attack machines. That's what they're used for. And so they're not having a hearing. Look at all the hearings on Benghazi, right? Look at all the hearings on the IRS. Look at this hearing on the Affordable Care Act. Do you think they had anything to do with making things better? Or with no. They were used as like
stunts.
Stunts, showcases for to make their own arguments, and like a bulldozer, really, to kind of mow things down rather than get information and make things better. In other words, their purpose is to nix it, not fix it, and the hearings really ought to be to mend it, not end it. Oh, we've run out of cliches on that. All right, here we go. Susan Paige, USA Today, Bureau Chief for Washington, D.C. A very interesting interview with Dick Cheney. She'll tell us all about it. And a survey that shows what Americans think about members of Congress coming up with Susan Paige.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
Eye cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we go now at 14 minutes before the top of the hour on a Friday morning. Friday morning, so you know what that means. We check in with Susan Paige, Washington Bureau Chief for USA Today. It's been a busy week. Good morning, Susan. Good
morning, Bill.
Everything good?
Everything is great, and it's Friday.
I know. We love that, don't we? Yeah. So last week when we talked to you, you could not tell us about your interview with Dick Cheney other than the fact that it had happened, but it was in Monday's paper. So you found him pretty busy and with his daughter's campaign and other stuff out there?
It was amazing. I interviewed him 2 years ago when his memoir came out, and he, at that point, had this external battery that was pumping his heart, which he showed off. In fact, he took the battery out to show what happened, which is this terrible beeping. But this
God, that's terrifying.
This time, he was he looked a decade younger than he did then. He looked
No kidding.
incredibly
Whoa.
robust. I mean, it's like I don't believe I've ever met someone before who'd had a heart transplant, but it has given him a second lease on life, and it has left him unchanged, I have to say, in his politics.
So it must have been a conservative heart that he got there, right? He's spending most of his time in Wyoming.
He says he spends 80 to 90% of his time in Wyoming. He does come to Washington regularly for various heart checkups on his health, at this point every 3 months. He does a little bit of speaking, a little bit of politics, but I think he is mostly enjoying hunting and fishing and being out at Jackson Hole, Wyoming, which is indeed a beautiful place.
And he's written a book about his heart troubles, correct?
He did, with his cardiologist, Jonathan Reiner, and it, you know what it shows? It shows that over the last 35 years, he's had heart disease and a series of heart attacks, 5 heart attacks in all. And at each point, when he would seem to be facing kind of the end of the road, there would be a medical breakthrough that would enable him to get treated and keep moving, you know, whether it was cholesterol-reducing drugs or bypass surgery or a stent. So he is pretty much, I think, the luckiest guy in the world.
Oh, yeah, or that external pump, right? And then finally a transplant.
Yeah,
right?
Extraordinary.
Right. So, Susan, I was quoting you this week at a meeting down in New Orleans when the survey came out about members of Congress. You found USA Today, Americans not happy with this current bunch, to say the least, right?
Here's what we took this survey in the aftermath of the government shutdown, and what we found was levels of people saying most members of Congress ought to be defeated. They're higher than they were 2 times when we had a change in control of Congress, higher than they were in 1994 and in 2006. So that shows us that the table is set for the kind of wave election that could change control of the House of Representatives. Now, of course, we're still pretty far out. We're still a year out from the election. Things can change. But at the moment, as the elections were today, Democrats would have a chance of taking back the House, which is not something we thought was in the cards.
Yeah, 17 seats, right? So is that because of what, immigration reform or shutdown or?
I think just a general sense that Congress isn't working, that it can't address big issues, that it can't get things done, it just bickers with itself. I think that must be the ingredients that are making people think, throw them all out, let's try with a new crew.
Well, you know, it used to be, because we know the dissatisfaction with Congress, but that was sort of the other side of the coin was that people didn't feel that way about their own member of Congress.
Yeah.
You know, but has that changed?
Well, we do see, we didn't ask that question in this survey, but in other surveys that have been done in the past few weeks, we have seen higher than usual levels of people saying, even my own member of Congress ought to be replaced. You know, one other thing we found in our poll, higher levels of dissatisfaction, a willingness to defeat members of Congress in Republican-held districts than in Democratic-held ones.
Whoa.
And that is another good sign for Democrats who hope to take back the House.
That could be a game changer, really.
It could be,
That could be, yeah. Susan Paige, Washington Bureau Chief for USA Today, our guest here this Friday morning, usatoday.com, of course. David Jackson was with us yesterday from the White House from USA Today. Susan, the president calling some activists at the White House yesterday in the East Room saying, okay, we got to put pressure on Congress to do immigration reform before the end of the year. Do you think there's any chance?
You know, I think the conventional wisdom says there's no chance that immigration gets to the House a bill that's consistent with the one that has already passed the Senate. But I remember covering President Clinton and Speaker Gingrich after the 1996 shutdown, when they did, in fact, end up passing some big pieces of legislation, including welfare reform. I think if the Republicans in the House think it's in their interest to pass an immigration bill, that could happen, maybe not this year, but maybe next spring. So I'm of the camp that says it's possible, not likely maybe, but it's still possible that gets done during this Congress.
It's certainly back to what we were just talking about. It certainly would be a way, right, of countering we can't get anything done by showing that they can get something done.
That's right. And that was the calculation that Newt Gingrich and others Republicans made in 1996. And, you know, the Republicans are in pretty sorry shape now. They're split down the middle between their Tea Party forces and more establishment Republicans. They're facing this high tide of public discontent. So I'm sure they are trying to calculate how to get out of that.
And finally, it's been interesting the last couple of days to hear the White House dealing with this Angela Merkel question and NSA. So has your cell phone been tapped, Susan?
It's so shocking that the United States is spying.
Yeah, isn't it shocking? Right. I mean, do you think this, now, what the New York Times, I think, was at 35, up to 35 world leaders that we might have been spying on?
I guess it's not surprising that the United States is spying on anybody they can spy on. I guess what's surprising is now we know about it. It's impossible to deny because of these leaks from Edward Snowden. And I see stories, including in the New York Times this morning, that talk about how incredibly angry European leaders are about this.
Yeah. And you can understand why. We were just talking a little bit earlier. If the story came out that the UK or Switzerland or whoever, right, was tapping President Obama's personal cell phone, Americans would be outraged.
Well, our outrage would be at why hasn't the security people made it possible for his phone to be untappable, right?
Yeah.
I think spying must be like a competitive sport.
Well, I guess all of us have to know that anytime we make a phone call these days, right, we just say hello to the NSA at the beginning of it, right? I don't know. Like this phone call right here. Here we go. All right, Susan, have a great weekend.
You too, Bill.
All right, thanks so much for joining us, as always.
Bye-bye.
Susan Paige, Washington Bureau Chief, USA Today.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
This is the Bill Press Show.
In the next hour, Van Jones from CNN, Crossfire. Did you ever hear that show? I heard it's a pretty good show. I don't know. Anyhow, he's going to be here in the studio with us. Looking forward to that, Peter.
Yahoo News took a look at the FBI's latest statewide statistics that looks at crime and things like that of what the top 10 most dangerous states in America are.
Oh, all right.
Any guesses for number one?
Illinois.
No. Number one most dangerous state in all of America is Tennessee.
Whoa.
They combine low income, low education, and a high crime rate, puts it all together. Tennessee, Nevada is number two. Number three is Alaska. So, good luck if you go to any of those three states.
Is that because Al Gore lives in Tennessee?
I'm surprised Florida came in at number 8. That's awfully low.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
What do you say, everybody? Good to see you today. It is Friday, October 25. Great to see you, and thank you for joining us here on the Bill Press Show this beautiful Friday morning. A little chilly here in our nation's capital. Lots and lots to talk about. We're coming to you live from Washington, D.C. in our studio on Capitol Hill. Yesterday at the White House, President Obama bringing together a group of immigration activists in the East Room of the White House, a little pep rally, asking them to join him in calling on Congress to pass immigration reform by the end of the year. Yeah, fat chance that's going to happen. I know the president wants it to happen. It's going to be tough because Congress is all tied up now with trying to get a budget out by December 15 and then dealing with the possibility of another government shutdown looming on January 15. And, of course, I have to tackle the debt ceiling all over again on February 7th. So good luck getting anything done, especially immigration reform. The White House, meanwhile, is got a global tempest on its hands over reports that NSA has been spying on some friendly nations and other world leaders. Brazil canceled a state visit because we were spying on them. The French this week got really out of sorts because we were spying on French leaders, and Angela Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany, called in our ambassador in Berlin to say, stop spying. Why are you spying on my cell phone? She even called President Obama to complain, and the New York Times reports we've been spying on up to 35 world leaders, and yet the White House continues to support NSA. Why? And the Cardinals even it up after an embarrassing play last night by the Red Sox. All that and more on this morning's Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Well, it's not just Germany. The Guardian reporting that the U.S. has been spying on 35 world leaders. Whoa. Reach out and touch someone. Good morning, everybody. Here we go. Friday, October 25, the Bill Press Show. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Great to see you this morning. Thank you for joining us on your local progressive talk radio station. Wherever you are in this great land of ours, thank you for joining us on Free Speech TV. If that's your pleasure, if you've got a satellite dish, find us on DirecTV or the Dish Network. And thanks for watching on the video stream, where you happen to be on the planet, people all over the world watching the video stream at youtube.com/TawkrTV. You don't need a photo ID to check out the video stream. You don't need to give us your social security number. No, just go to youtube.com/Tawker. All you need to do is know how to spell Tawker. TAWKR TV. It is the whole team here on the Bill Press Show this Friday morning. Peter Ogburn, Dan Henning.
Hey.
Bill, good morning.
Good morning. Alicia Cruz has the phones covered. Waiting for your calls at 866-55-PRESS. And Cyprian Bolding, our videographer, keeping us looking good on Free Speech and Talker TV. Don't forget, you can also send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at Facebook.com/. facebook.com/BillPressShow. We want to say congratulations to all of our friends at the Center for American Progress.
Yeah.
They celebrated their 10th anniversary yesterday. Kudos to everybody there, starting with our good buddy, Igor Volsky, who's in every Tuesday morning here, part of the Bill Press Show. John Podesta, the founder of the Center for American Progress, a good friend, been on the show many times. It was on this program that he taught the world how to make a turducken.
That's right.
Remember that?
That's right.
I mean, he is a chef, a great chef. And in addition to his many other talents.
Very good cook.
Former chief of staff White House chief of staff.
We used to
President
broadcast
Clinton.
from there.
We used to broadcast from the Center for American Progress. That's where we started out. And also congratulations to Neera Tandon, the new leader of the center. Who's a great leader, great person, and she's been on the show many times. We've probably had half of the staff of the Center for American Progress at one time or other on the program.
Yeah.
They do. Bishop Gene Robinson,
sure, yeah,
one of our good friends, is a fellow at the Center for American Progress. Joe Cirincione used to be a fellow at the Center for American Progress before we went over to the Plowshares Fund. So here we go. And yesterday, many leaders, progressive leaders, Governor Jerry Brown from California, Secretary of State John Kerry, and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton came out to join the celebration. Here is Hillary talking about the important contributions CAP made, particularly on health care.
In particular, CAP's efforts to put the cause of affordable, quality health care for every American back on the national agenda was essential.
And the former First Lady, former Senator, and former Secretary of State saying that progressive ideas so important to this country, and they will continue to be out there, thanks in large part to CAP.
Progressive ideas have helped make this country the greatest force for human liberty, dignity, and opportunity the world has ever known. And I know that CAP will continue leading the way.
Van Jones, one of the co-hosts on the left of Crossfire, was also part of the program yesterday. He'll be here in studio with us about 20 minutes from now. And then in the next hour, Melanie Sloan from the Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics. And then Alan St. Pierre from NORML to talk about the growing public support for the legalization of marijuana. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
On this Friday, other headlines making news. Wednesday's World Series game is a distant memory for the St. Louis Cardinals now as they fired back to take Game 2 over the Red Sox last night thanks to strong pitching from the young bullpen, where all three pitchers for the Cards last night were 23 years old or younger. Michael Wacha, 22, threw 6 strikeouts, gave up just 2 hits in the 4-2 win, and outfielder Carlos Beltran hit a key RBI single just hours after being in the hospital from the previous game. They're off today. The next 3 games are in St. Louis, starting tomorrow.
Imagine being 22 years old, walking up on the mound with all of that pressure and in front of that huge crowd. Woo.
Rock and roll on Capitol Hill next week. The lead singer of The Who is coming to Washington. The Hill reporting...
Who? No, sorry.
The Who?
Yeah, tell us who.
What?
Roger Daltrey will perform during the unveiling of a Winston Churchill bust in the Capitol. Congress passed a bill authorizing the placement of the bust back in 2011 at the 70th anniversary of the late Prime Minister's address to Congress shortly after the Pearl Harbor attack.
Do you think Winston Churchill should have a bust in the U.S. Capitol?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
Not either.
He's getting one.
I know, but it doesn't mean we have to like
Right?
it. I mean, I like Churchill, but I mean,
Sure,
I
sure.
don't think he needs a bust in the U.S. Capitol. What the hell?
If you looked at the White
Who
House...
else?
Who else?
Yeah, Khrushchev. I mean, you start putting world leaders in there.
If you looked at the White House last night, it was in a shade of a different color, all pink. The executive mansion lit up in pink lights, a yearly tradition now in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. USA Today reports Vice President Biden's house also lit up in pink, and the administration took the opportunity to promote provisions of Obamacare, where it recommended breast cancer screenings are fully covered under most new insurance plans.
Yep, tying that together. Thank you, Dan. 12 minutes after the hour now. 13, make it. I wanted to talk to you about another politician in deep trouble of his own making. No, this is not a politician who is sending out selfies, but he's gotten in a different kind of trouble. We're talking about Doug Gansler, who is the Attorney General for the state of Maryland, and maybe more importantly right now, is running for governor of Maryland to replace Martin O'Malley. We mentioned last week that Gansler had gotten in trouble because, there he is right now on one of the monitors on MSNBC. Gansler, last week, it was reported state troopers, who, of course, drive the Attorney General around, the state troopers actually filed a complaint because apparently, according to them, Attorney General Gansler is siren happy and red light happy, and he loves to race around in his official state car, even if he's not on urgent business. If he's just going to the dentist or going out to the coffee shop or whatever, he always wants them to turn the lights on, turn the sirens on, go through the red lights. And according to the state troopers, there have even been occasions where if the officer said, no, we don't need the emergency lights right now, this is not an emergency trip, he has reached over and turned them on himself, and at least on one occasion told the driver, or the state trooper, you ride in the passenger seat and let me drive. I'll turn the lights on and I'll go through the red lights. So Gansler had to deal with that flap. Now there's a whole different flap, which and this really relates to something that many of us can talk about, which is the proper role of a parent, and what would you do in this case. There's a photo out there. We have just tweeted it out. This past summer, Bethany Beach, Delaware, Dewey Beach, Bethany Beach, a hangout for people from Washington, D.C., and particularly Dewey for teenagers, young people. It's a big drinking scene. So Gansler's son is graduating from high school. He and his pals from the high school all have a big beach party in a house over there. There are chaperones available, right? It's a chaperone party. Mm-hmm. But it's pretty apparent there's a lot of underage drinking going on. And in walks the Attorney General, who stopped by. He was in the area, apparently. He says he was not one of the chaperones. He stopped by to see his son, who was the DJ for the party. And when this photo popped up with Gansler in the middle of some of these half-naked kids, well, it's a beach. I'm not trying to say it was a sex orgy. I mean, there was a beach, and a lot of them had their bathing suits on. It's a pretty crowded scene. You can't tell me he didn't know there was teenage drinking, right? He says, so when this picture came out, this photo came out, which, again, we have tweeted out. You can check it out. People were saying, what was he doing there? Here's the Attorney General condoning an underage drinking session. Gansler yesterday held a news conference to respond to it. First, on the teenage drinking question.
Perhaps I should have assumed there was drinking going on, and I got that wrong.
How could you walk into a party, right, with, Peter, 100 teenagers partying and they obviously had drinks in their hand and not know they were drinking? Yeah, I mean, smell the beer, I'm sure.
I'm looking at the picture, which, again, we tweeted it out at BP Show on Twitter, at BP Show, if you want to see it. It's probably, just in this picture alone, it's probably about 20 clearly college-age students, young college. And then Gansler is right in the middle of them.
Yeah.
I see a couple of red Solo cups, which never, by the way, means Kool-Aid. Okay, they're not drinking. You're never drinking Kool-Aid out of a red Solo cup.
It's not Diet Coke.
Exactly. They're drinking draft beer.
Yeah,
or whatever else.
He had to know that.
And lots of people without their shirts on.
Yeah.
They're
and then he
drinking.
says, okay, well, maybe I should have looked into it a little
What I
bit.
could have done was to investigate whether there was drinking going on and then take an action on that. And for that, I probably should have done that.
Should have done that. So he should have known that there was some teenage drinking going on. And maybe he should have looked into it and said something to the chaperones like, you got to be careful because this is not, allowed. Now, he's not the attorney general this is in Delaware. He's the attorney general for Maryland, but still he's a top law enforcement official. And then finally he says, but look, let's face it, bottom line is nobody was in trouble.
At no time while I was in the house did I see any teenager in any danger or any risk. If I had, of course, I would have attended to that person, as I always do, and spoken to the chaperones about ending the party.
So, I'm torn about this. Love to know what you think about it. This was on the national news last night. Everybody's talking about it. 866-55-PRESS, of course, is the toll-free number. First of all, I think as a parent, parents could handle this differently, right? And I think either way is okay. I mean, parents could say, look, they graduated from high school, they want to party, so we got this beach house. Some of us are going to be there. You can trust us. Nobody's going anywhere. Nobody's getting keys to the car, but, there will be some drinking, but we're going to monitor that. And let's just face it, kids, high school kids, particularly seniors graduating, they're going to have a few beers, and it's better to have it in this sort of environment where it's controlled and they're all safe and we have our own DJ in here, than have them go out on the streets, on the roads, or try to crash a bar or, whatever. And then there are some parents who would say, hey, it's still illegal, congratulations for graduating from high school, but you're not going to have a drink until you reach the legal age of 21.
Or at least, if you're going to, I don't need to know about it.
Or
Don't
something
involve
like that,
me,
right? So I guess what I'm saying is, I could see parents could go either way.
Yeah.
The difference with Gansler is he's the attorney general of the state of Maryland, and he's running for governor of the state of Maryland. It seems to me he had a little more responsibility, and may have stepped up and said, "Hey, people, this is not cool." Or you know what else? Just stay the hell away from the party.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what are you doing there? If you're running for governor?
Do you think there's any way he didn't? I mean, there's no way that he could not know that there was teenage drinking going on.
He had to know.
Yeah.
He had to know.
Bad judgment call on his part. You ask me, 866-55-PRESS. Tell me what you think of it here. Doug Gansler, Attorney General for Maryland. In hot water, again, 2 weeks in a row. 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine. Virginia Tech.
Tucson.
Aurora.
Fort Hood. Oak Creek.
Newtown.
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 How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
Enough.
Enough. Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time. Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, would you believe it? 25 minutes after the hour already here on a Friday morning, Friday, October 25. So good to have you with us this morning on your local progressive talk radio station, on free speech, and on TawkrTV. So yesterday, you knew it was coming, and there should be some congressional hearings on the problems with the Affordable Care Act website not being ready to go. The problem is yesterday's hearing held by Republicans, chaired by Fred Upton, was really meant as an excuse to, for one more reason to beat up on Obamacare, not as an excuse to find out how we can make Obamacare better. It took some of the Democrats there to put things in perspective, starting with Henry Waxman from California. This was the House Energy and Commerce Committee, who pointed out, let's keep things in perspective here, right? This is a problem, but all the rest of Obamacare working pretty fine.
The Affordable Care Act is an enormous success, with one obvious exception. It has a poorly designed website.
Yeah, and as President Obama, a point that he has made several times, the website is not the Affordable Care Act. The website is one facet of the Affordable Care Act and all the protection it provides. Anna Eshoo, a congresswoman from the Bay Area of California, pointed out, as I have, that the idea that, well, we were fine, it's just that too many people came to the website, that's a pitiful excuse. Look at the private companies that have done very well. She mentions the same ones that I did here on our program.
I think that's really kind of a lame excuse. Amazon and eBay don't crash the week before Christmas, and Pro Flowers doesn't crash on Valentine's Day.
There you go. Proud sponsor of this program,
That's right.
Pro Flowers. And we do all their special runs for Valentine's Day, for Mother's Day, for Christmas. Yeah. And you know what? When they go out and advertise for millions of Americans to come and buy flowers, right? They're ready for millions of Americans to come to the website. They don't say, oh, God, sorry. The website crashed. Frank Pallone from New Jersey, he said when he was trying to make the point, an important point about Obamacare, he called this hearing exactly what it was.
No health information is required in the application process. And why is that? Because pre-existing conditions don't matter. So once again, here we have my Republican colleagues trying to scare everybody.
Will the gentleman yield?
No, I will not yield to this monkey court or whatever this thing is.
This is not...
Yeah, a monkey court. Pallone went on to say, we should be here trying to fix the Affordable Care Act, not to nix the Affordable Care Act. Big hearing yesterday. I'm surprised they didn't take a vote to repeal Obamacare.
Yeah, right.
They've only done it 45 times, so why not do it?
Now?
Why not do it one more time? Van Jones, co-host of Crossfire, coming up in studio with us in the next segment. Stay
This is
tuned.
the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach
likes
your
you.
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
You got it. 33 minutes after the hour now. Here we go on a Friday morning, October 25. It's the Bill Press Show. We're coming to you live from our nation's capital, on our studio on this end of Pennsylvania Avenue, right on Capitol Hill, just down the street from the United States Capitol building. And brought to you this morning by the International Association of Machinists, the good men and women of the Machinist Union, under President Tom Buffenbarger, sharpening America's edge on the global economy, you bet. And you can find more about their good work by going to their website at goiam.org. From the left, I'm Bill Press. Boy, I said that for 6 years, and I am so proud now to welcome to the studio a good friend and a man who is now saying that from the left, Van Jones on Crossfire. Hey, Van, great to see you.
Good to see you too.
Thank you so much for coming in.
It's an honor for me, and but we should be able to say proudly from the left.
Yeah,
I sneak that in there sometimes.
Do you really? Yeah. I'm always proud of it. I gotta say it.
Right.
Make no bones about it. You having fun?
I am having fun. You set a very tough standard for CNN on Crossfire. So we're 7 weeks in, almost 8 weeks into the show. Doing pretty well in the ratings. We've had, I can't remember, a couple of dozen now Congress people, senators, pretty high profile guests. We've had Cornel West and Bill Kristol and a whole bunch of folks. And so we're off to a good start, but we got a long way to go to catch you.
No, get out of here. And Michael Kinsley is the one who started at Tom Braden before him. So it's been a good run. Good run on the right and the left, actually, on the show. I was delighted that they brought it back and delighted that you're part of the lineup there. So don't take any crap from Newt, okay?
He's a great foil, but he's really a teddy bear to work with. I mean, it's unbelievable how smart this guy is and how much he actually wants everybody around him to do better. I can see how this guy wound up taking over Congress because he really does work to try to get everybody around him better. But we just don't agree on anything.
No. Well, it's like me and Novak. It used to be the same way. We always got along. We went out to dinner. We had beers. We traveled together. But no. I don't think we could agree on the time of day. You were at the big 10th anniversary celebration of the Center for American Progress yesterday, I know. And one of the things you talked about was the Keystone Pipeline. Mm-hmm. If you were in the White House, still in the White House, you would be right in the middle of this decision making.
What decision is there to make? I mean, this is the worst idea, the dumbest idea. It's a no-brainer. The idea, Bill, that you're going to take a pipeline from Canada to take the nastiest, dirtiest fuel known to man through America's farmland over about 60% of our clean water aquifers to get it to China. This is not about American energy independence. It's not an American corporation. TransCanada, you might notice from the name, is not an American energy corporation.
Right.
And they have been asked over and over and over again, will you guarantee that you're going to only sell this stuff here? No, they're trying to get it to China. Now, that would be bad enough, so we're going to set off this carbon bomb, burn all this dirty fuel, and it's for a foreign corporation and for China. We bear all the risk, get none of the reward, but it's worse than that. This is not oil. People talk about oil. There is no oil. This is tar sand, completely different thing. Tar sand is tar. Have you ever seen tar? Okay.
Yeah, right.
The problem with tar, what they do is they take the tar, they get the sand out, they put all these nasty toxic chemicals in, and they won't tell you what the chemicals are, Bill. And then what they do is they shoot it through these pipes at high pressure.
Right.
Guess what? The cracks burst. And in Kalamazoo, Michigan, we've already seen what happens. 4 years ago, one of these pipes burst. All this toxic, nasty goo comes out. And unlike oil, which floats, it sunk to the bottom of the Kalamazoo River and stuck there. We've spent now $1 billion, 4 years, and the river is just as fouled as before. You can't clean this stuff up. And so when it leaks, and it will leak, every pipe leaks. That's why you have plumbers, okay? You don't need a conspiracy theory to imagine the pipe will leak. Every pipe will leak, and when it leaks, you cannot clean it up. So we're supposed to risk all of our farmland, our water, for a foreign corporation to sell dirty energy to China in the name of energy independence and jobs. State Department says, you know what? we get about 50 permanent jobs out of the whole kit and caboodle.
Right.
It's nuts.
So do you think, are you convinced that you and I agree on what President Obama should do?
Absolutely.
First of all, the State Department should do, and then what the president should do. Do you think he will?
You know, he actually put a standard out there that says if this increases greenhouse gas emissions, he won't do it.
Right.
Well, that's game over as far as I'm concerned. Now, there are all these wacky studies and stuff like that, but now your listeners actually are going to be opinion leaders on this. I want to make sure they know the real facts. The only studies that say it won't increase greenhouse gas emissions do this dirty logical trick. And what they say is, well, Canada's going to develop it anyway, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. Well, hold on a second. If they're going to develop it anyway, why do they need this pipeline?
Exactly.
Number one. And number two, none of the neighboring provinces in Canada will even let the pipeline go through because they know how nasty this stuff is. So this is not a pipeline to bring oil energy to America. It's to bring energy through America to China. And if we stop the pipeline, the whole thing stops because nobody in Canada will let this thing happen. We're the only suckers who want to do it.
That's an excellent point. You're the only person I've heard make that point, which is true. This thing doesn't happen in Canada. No. If they could have done it in Canada,
they would have. Why would they? If they could take a pipeline across to the Pacific Ocean and go directly to China, they would have. Yeah. Everybody in Canada, guess what? They're pretty smart about tar sands. They've seen it their whole lives. They don't want it coming over their water supply. So we're the sucker bet here to do it. If we don't do it, that nasty stuff stays in the ground, our water stays safe, and we can go on with clean energy and real solutions.
By the way, one of the people that you and I both know as a friend and another energy advisor to the president, Peter, you've got that story, Carol Browner, on your panel yesterday, right?
She was one of my bosses in the White House.
I know. She's
phenomenal. Smart.
She is,
Look, I mean, her brain is so fast and so smart. Most of the time when she was talking to me when I was working for her, I was just nodding because she's so much smarter than everybody else.
She said yesterday on this point.
Former White House Energy and Climate Czar Carol Browner, she predicted that it's not going to happen, quoting her, whether or not he will say no, well, you know how the White House functions, but at the end of the day, he's going to say no, but there will be some twists and turns before we get there.
I think, given what the president has said about, as you point out, 50 jobs, about the climate, climate and everything, there's no way. Plus, if you really want to say we're going now in a renewable energy direction, we've changed course. This is going in reverse. This would be going in reverse. Right?
This is getting a hyperdrive engine from Star Trek and going in reverse. I mean, you're going so far and so fast in reverse, you'll make your head spin.
So I want to ask you this, maybe an impertinent question. Why should people in the minority community worry about this pipeline?
Well, first of all, it's very interesting, and it is part and parcel of this whole dirty energy, pollution-based economy that is literally killing African-American children. We, in our communities, bear the brunt of all of this dirty energy stuff. Where's this stuff going to be refined? It's going to be refined right down there in Cancer Alley, right down there in Louisiana, where we already have kids setting off metal detectors in their schools with asthma inhalers.
Ooh.
Not with guns.
Yeah.
Asthma inhalers. Okay, so you already have a respiratory epidemic, Bill, in African-American, Latino, low-income communities because it's dirty, nasty, pollution-based economy. And the more dirty energy you refine, you know where the refineries are. So now, one thing I think is very interesting, and I said this on the same panel where we were together with Carol. If blacks don't vote, Greens can't win. There used to be this view that the green agenda was this white agenda, this elite agenda, and the white folks were for the environment, and black folks didn't care about it.
Yeah,
it's actually completely flipped. Nobody's tracking this. Now, the African American community, first of all, we voted 93% for Democrats in the national election, which means that the only party that's going to do anything about the environment is reliant on the black vote. So an attack on the black vote is actually an attack on the green agenda because only Democrats can do anything, and we put Democrats in office, number one. But it's even more interesting than that.
But that in itself is powerful. I love just the way you put it.
Yeah.
Blacks don't vote,
Greens can't win. Yeah. I mean, so what that means is if there's an attack on voting rights, the Sierra Club should be running over the NAACP, knocking them down to get in the courthouse to say, let these people vote.
Yeah.
Because if they don't vote, we can't win. But again, this is the problem with our movement. We haven't really become a single, as you've been fighting for years, progressive movement. We have these little silos, and everybody's got their own little fundraising strategy, their own little rhetoric. But the reality is we need each other. We need each other. And I got to give the African-American community some credit here. Nobody's given us any credit. Listen to this. On the environment, the white community is now split over the environment so that, even despite all the science and the horrible weather and that kind of thing, only 60% of white folks in America support strong climate action, which is a crime because in 2008, both McCain and Obama said we needed to do it. So it was a unifying issue.
Right.
Now it's been politicized. So whites are down to 60%, Latinos 74%, African Americans 86% support strong climate action. Now, this is amazing. When the cap and trade clean energy bill came onto the House floor, 100% of the Congressional Black Caucus voted for it, except for Archer Davis. He was running for governor. And now he's off.
And now he's a Republican.
He's a Republican anyway. But all the real 100% voted for it. This is an issue now that the African American community, believe it or not, on the environment, the bedrock vote, the bedrock support is in the black community.
Boy, that is a huge change from where things started. When the environmental movement used to be a whole lily white movement, I'm telling you.
Yep, no, it's
changed.
changed.
Didn't really care about issues also that impacted the minority community.
America is changing.
Absolutely. Van Jones, CNN's changing too. They brought Crossfire back with some really good people. Van Jones leading the pack here. He's in studio with us. Got a chance to comment, a question, 866-55-PRESS. We'll be right back here on The Bill Press Show this Friday morning.
Like politics? Then like The Bill Press Show on Facebook. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It's 12 minutes before the top of the hour. Crossfire. Yes, indeed. It's back. It's back indeed. And Van Jones leading the fight there from the left on behalf of all of us. Van, great to see you again.
Yeah, really
Congratulations.
Good to see you. Thank you very much.
Great job. I had 6 good years, and may you have even more than that.
I'm going to hang in there. They're going to have to drag me out.
Peter, quickly, you got a
quick story. Yesterday was the funeral service for Bill Young, Congressman Bill Young for Florida. The National Republican Congressional Committee has come under fire because the day before his funeral, they began polling the district to find a replacement for Bill Young. The timing, not great on that one.
Yeah, you would think they
Class
might.
act.
Right?
Class act.
Right?
Class act.
Clown car.
Really, man.
Typical. How can we hold on to this seat, right?
Yeah.
A little respect.
Yeah.
But by the way, if the DCCC had been polling down there,
It'd be front page. We'd be talking about it all
You're
day
right.
long.
yeah,
You're absolutely right.
exactly. Hey, Van, let's say hello up in Buffalo, New York. Hello, Dave. Good morning.
Good morning. Great show. You should get Van Jones on more.
Please.
Hey,
You're welcome
all right.
anytime.
He can come in every day as far as I'm concerned.
Don't tempt me.
All right.
A point about pushing tar sand sludge through what turns out to be 1 million tons worth of El Cheapo 36-inch Indian steel that was imported, which also causes more leaks. When you push tar sand sludge through, you have to dilute it, and so you make this mix called dilbit. And one of the most important diluents in this is benzene from natural gas condensates, because benzene dissolves things like asphaltenes, which are basically the bitumen that dissolves. So that's extra poisonous when it leaks, because now you have benzene, and benzene is a really nasty carcinogen. So that's just one more reason not to send it down to the refineries.
All right, Dave, appreciate that. In other words, man, it's worse than than it looks even.
It's what he calls dilbit is diluted bitumen, and it is diluted. You already have the nastiest stuff on Earth, and it's diluted with even nastier stuff, and that's what we're supposed to accept, so we can have this pipeline come through America's farmland and over our aquifers. It's just the nuttiest, dumbest, stupidest idea. And if there were not billions of dollars to be made by a foreign corporation, and they're throwing the money around this town, we wouldn't even consider it.
By the way, I think one of the most effective and impressive protests that I've ever seen was when they did the pipeline all the way around the White House.
Yes. Well, hey, listen.
Really got the message out.
350.org, which is the organization of those young people.
Bill McKibben.
Inspired by Bill McKibben, who was a prophet in his own country, in his own time. I mean, they have taken this issue. Nobody was talking about it. It was all but approved, and they have made it into a global issue, and they're going to win this thing. And it just shows that no matter what you say, political protest, boots on the ground, action in the streets matters. In this internet, Twitter age, it doesn't matter. Boots on the ground still matter.
It still matters. Now, we just got a couple minutes left. I've got to ask you about the Affordable Care Act and the problems with the website. They're going to get this thing fixed?
Yeah. I mean, you know what? Do you remember Twitter when it first started?
Yes.
Remember the fail whale?
Oh my God!
Remember that? Remember
Wow.
you go on Twitter, and just when
Yeah.
you needed to go on, this big blue whale would come up. And why? Because glitches are so common with a new product. They actually just put this cute little whale up, and everybody had to have a little bit of a laugh, and you would go back. That took years for Twitter to get sorted out. This thing's going to get sorted out much faster than that. Nobody remembers the fail whale today. You know why? They fixed the website. Websites get fixed. That's what happens with technology. Now,
it's honestly, I'm laughing because it's been so long since I've heard anybody mention fail whale.
Perfect. No, you can't even remember the
in this
fail
whole
whale.
Discussion, I haven't heard anybody mention. The White House ought to mention
Yeah,
that.
you can't even remember the fail whale. Why? Because they fixed the website. Now, did they do it in a day? No, they didn't, but they fixed it. Now, here's my big problem with this whole thing. This is a complete and utter ridiculous distraction from the real threat to this health care bill, which is these Republican governors sitting out there choking off the money for poor people to see a doctor. These Republican governors. Now, listen, I got a lot of friends who are Republicans. I got relatives who are Republicans. Every one of them is just appalled by the fact that you got Republican governors who, for political reasons, won't do what Kasich did in Ohio and say, I care more about my poor people in my state than I hate this president. I'm going to do the right thing. That is a despicable attack. It's an immoral attack on poor people. This is not a joke. These people need to be able to see doctors, and we're sitting up here talking about a daggum website. No, what about the moral failure? Not the technological failure. We need a moral surge as well as a technology surge. This is terrible in America.
You're the right man in the right place, and we thank you for coming in this morning.
Well, don't get me started about this.
Yes. Go to bed.
Very good.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me. Please let me come back. Let me come back, please.
All right.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hour number 3 coming up. We're going to lose you on Free Speech TV, but don't forget you can just switch over and watch our video stream, TawkrTV. That's youtube.com/TawkrTV. It turns out that Congress is a congressional family affair. A lot of members of Congress keeping their family on the payroll. Melanie Sloan from Crew will tell us all about that. And 58% of Americans now support the legalization of marijuana. Alan St. Pierre from NORML will be here in studio with Big Hour coming up.
I wish I was in school.
If only I had a math test today.
Or a book report to give.
I wish I was in school. I'll stay after class. I'll clean the chalkboard. I'll do extra homework. I'll skip recess.
I wish I was in school.
I wish I was in school.
I really wish I was in school.
School ends, but free lunches for your kids don't have to. Find your local food bank at feedingamerica.org/summer meals for help. Together, we're feeding America.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified, not knowing what to do. They do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Okay, another big hour coming up with Melanie Sloan from Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington. And then Alan St. Pierre from the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, President Obama and the Vice President. Get the daily briefing this morning at 10:45, and then he takes off for New York City, where he will be first visiting a classroom at a high school up there called P-Tech in Brooklyn. He'll deliver remarks at the high school after he tours the school, and then he goes on for a DCCC event tonight in New York, and then a DNC event, 2 fundraisers in New York this evening. He'll be back on Air Force One and back to Andrews Air Force Base, back at the White House at 11:05 tonight. One more hour of the Bill Press Show coming up this Friday morning.
This is the Bill Press Show. broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Leaving this afternoon.
Oh, hi, we're starting.
Hey,
Are we
starting.
on?
Oh, we are. We're live.
Let's go then.
This is live TV. No, I didn't know that. Yes, indeed. Are you ready for this? We are now up to spying on 35, according to The Guardian. 30. That's Edward Snowden's newspaper, by the way. 35 different world leaders tapping their cell phones. Hey, Angela Merkel's not the only one who's pissed. Good morning, everybody. What do you say? It is Friday, October 25. It's the Bill Press Show coming to you live from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., our studio on Capitol Hill. Booming out to you on your local progressive talk radio station. And this hour on... no more free speech TV. This hour on TawkrTV. Yes, indeed. You know how to find us there. Go to youtube.com/TawkrTV. And you will find the entire team here. Peter Ogburn and Dan Henning.
Good morning.
Dan Henning for one more hour and then one more day.
One more day.
Yeah, before he goes to work as a Walmart greeter. You know, this is...
Clean up aisle 5. I'm going to be so good at that job.
The Bill Press Show. We are the training ground for Walmart greeters here, right? You know, this is... well, we have a contract with Walmart.
Look, maybe you can hold on to that job longer than you held on to this one, okay?
Hey, I had a good run here.
It was all right.
Alicia Cruz has the phones covered. She's going to she'll still be here next week. Dan will be here Monday, but then sayonara. And Cyprian Balding, I think he's going to hang around a little bit.
Well, we're not. Oh, he says yes. Okay.
He says yes.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Good.
He was. Oh no. Oh, I'm sorry. He just left and turned the lights out. So,
Cyprian Balding, our videographer, and joined this hour by a good friend and neighbor, and does great work here in Washington, trying to keep these members of Congress reasonably in line. The head of Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, Melanie Sloan. Hello, Melanie.
Hello. Good to be with
you
guys.
Thank you back. Thank you, and welcome back. We wanted, first of all, to announce, in terms of sort of, people who screw up in elective office and then have to step down, down in Asheville, North Carolina, one of the great cities on the planet, one of our favorite places to visit, and one of our great affiliates down there, 880 The Revolution. But Don Yelton was, until yesterday, the Republican leader in Asheville. By the way, that's not... In Asheville is not necessarily the majority party.
Yeah.
Asheville's a nice little liberal island down there.
The cesspool of sin, they call it. That's what one Republican lawmaker.
The cesspool of Asheville, North Carolina?
I'm not kidding.
No.
Asheville represent. If you're here, there's a Republican lawmaker that called Asheville the cesspool of sin for embracing things like gay marriage and things like that. So they, the progressives in Asheville have fully embraced that. The cesspool of sin.
Well, maybe it was this guy Don Yelton. Anyhow, this guy Don Yelton was a Republican leader down in Asheville. And he was interviewed on Jon Stewart. After this interview, he had to resign. They're asking him about racism lingering in this country.
And the correspondent for The Daily Show is this guy named Asaf Manvi, who is a minority, and he's talking to this white guy from North Carolina. That's
Indian
just
American,
for context.
Right? Yes, right.
The bottom line is the law is not racist.
Of course the law is not racist, and you're not racist.
That's the pause.
Well, I've been called a bigot before. Let me tell you something. You don't look like me, but I think I've treated you the same as I would anybody else.
Right.
Matter of fact, one of my best friends is black.
So one of your best friends?
One of my best friends
is black?
Yes.
Oh. And there's more.
When I was a young man, you didn't call a black, you called him a Negro. I had a picture one time of Obama sitting on a stump as a witch doctor, and I posted that on Facebook. I was making fun of my white half of Obama, not the black half. And now you have a black person using the term this, that, and it's okay for them to do it.
You know that we can hear you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you know that. You know that we can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know that you're being taped. You know that this is an interview. God, what an idiot.
So dumb.
And he resigned yesterday.
He's
gone.
Well, what an embarrassment.
Now we know what it takes to get fired.
In North Carolina.
Dang.
There are parts of North Carolina where he'd be welcomed as a hero.
I'm sure.
But not in Asheville, no. So Melanie Sloan, you might have seen her on 60 Minutes Sunday talking about the latest little scandal down the street here in the United States Capitol. She'll tell us all about it. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
A quick check of other headlines making news on this Friday. The Nigerian ambassador to the U.S. is demanding an apology from Ted Cruz. Ade Adefuye tells Politico that the people of his country were furious with when the Texas senator joked that healthcare.gov was built by Nigerian email scammers. The ambassador said it was insulting and surprising for a United States senator to disparage an entire nation like that, not to mention playing into the population that thinks the part of the population that thinks the president is from Africa.
There is that whole aspect of Ted Cruz's comments, right? Like that there are some people who think that the president was born in Kenya or wherever. So now he's throwing out this, Obama's buddies from the homeland are helping build the.
You can't be surprised at anything Ted Cruz says.
Right.
No, there's really no level to which he won't sink. He's proven that.
Yeah, exactly.
No, nothing's too low.
Right.
Senator Chris Murphy may be looking a little scruffy in the coming days. The Connecticut Democrat tweeted this week about being in solidarity with his favorite baseball team, of course, the Boston Red Sox, and their beards that they've been growing all year. He tweeted, quote, "Things staff never want to hear from their senator. I feel like I need to grow a beard for the World Series."
He better get started fast.
Yeah, right?
Some of those
it's
dudes,
underway. 2 days already down.
Yeah.
It would take me longer than 5 to grow a beard.
Some of those dudes on the Red Sox are looking a little burly.
Yeah.
A little bit of a beard coming
It's
in
a little thing. This is I didn't shave this morning, but like the guys on the Red Sox look like Yukon Cornelius at this point.
And finally,
they remind me of the Duck. What's the
Duck Dynasty?
Duck Dynasty.
Yeah, for sure. And a big push for clean cars. Governors of 8 states signed an agreement yesterday to put 3.3 million zero-emission vehicles on the road by 2025. Now, that means they're promising to put in the infrastructure, including enough electric charging stations to support that and get more electric, hydrogen fuel cell, and plug-in hybrid cars on the roads. That excited automakers. CBS reports those states are California, Oregon, Maryland, New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Vermont.
All states I would like to live in.
Sure, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. California, Oregon, New York, Vermont, Rhode Island.
The coast.
Maryland?
Yeah.
Got it. So, Melanie, it turns out that Congress is more of a family affair than we might have thought. Now, that's nice, right? We're supposed to be supporting our families, but not putting them on the payroll, right? What did you uncover?
So this is actually an old story. It's been for years and years. This has been a problem, and happily, 60 Minutes decided to report on it this week, which brings it to the attention of lots of people. But first of all, members of Congress have so many different kind of pots of money, and most people have no idea all these things exist. They have their campaign committees, and then they have something called leadership PACs, and there are different rules that apply to both of them. But also, members of Congress are not allowed to hire family members on their official staff. There are anti-nepotism rules that prevent that, but there's nothing that prevents them from hiring their family members onto the campaign payroll. And some of them have hired 5 and 6 members of their families on the campaign payroll.
And then they work in their offices or on their campaigns?
They work in their campaigns, but they're really of dubious what they do is not necessarily clear, and how important they are. It seems like it's really a way for members of Congress who go out and fundraise all the time, send you fundraising emails telling you how you're going to be supporting their next reelection and you're going to be supporting these important policies. But really what you're doing when you're making these contributions is often putting money into the bank accounts of these family members. So like an example of this where you might think, seems a little unnecessary is the campaign of Rodney Alexander, a Republican from Louisiana who recently retired to take a job with Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal, paid his daughters nearly $190,000 in salary over a 2-year period, and he wasn't even running for re-election. So what was that about?
What were they doing?
Not clear. And then when he was asked about it by 60 Minutes, he says, well, who can I trust if not my daughters? And that's often the same response you get. Ron Paul had put, I think, at least 5 members of his family on different payrolls, the presidential payroll, his presidential campaign, his campaign committee, and his leadership PAC. So that's one of the problems that we're seeing.
But there is a rule, right? Not a law maybe, but a rule in Congress that you cannot have a family member on your congressional payroll.
That's right. On your congressional payroll, but nothing about the campaign payroll. There is a bill that David Vitter actually introduced, but he has to ban this practice. He has
legendary family man, by the way.
Right, legendary family man. He has no co-sponsors, didn't want to talk to 60 Minutes about it, and has put absolutely no effort into it. So I don't think he's too serious about it. But we are talking to members of Congress over in the House now who watched the piece and said, "Wow, these are the kind of problems Americans really do care about." It's it's why Americans are so cynical about their members of Congress. They see things like this and think, "Gosh, you guys are really just there to benefit yourselves and not work for the public interest."
Now, are there limits on what they can use their campaign funds for?
There are limits on what they can use their campaign funds for, and they're pretty strict. And that's why we have, for example, 2 members of Congress who are currently under investigation by the Ethics Committee, Democrat Rob Andrews of New Jersey and Republican Don Young of Alaska, for misusing their campaign funds. But then members of Congress have this whole other pot of money. They're called leadership PACs, and there's no ban on using leadership PAC funds for personal use, like there is that prohibition for campaign funds. So members of Congress use their leadership PAC funds for whatever they want. You want to go out to a fancy dinner? You want to stay at the Ritz-Carlton? You want to go to Boca Raton in February? Sure, that's what your leadership PAC funds are for.
Leadership PACs. So do all members of Congress have one?
Almost all members of Congress have one. Not every single member has one, but it's a huge number do. Now, originally, the concept of leadership PACs was leadership PACs were formed so that members could use that money to help them win leadership races. They were, I think, the first person who actually used a leadership PAC in this way was Henry Waxman, many congressmen from Democrat from California. And members of Congress, I don't know how much the public knows this, but in order to get a chairmanship, very frequently, you have to have contributed generously to your colleagues because these are voted positions.
Yeah.
So leadership PAC funds were used in order to give money around, spread money around so that you'd have more support in order to obtain your chairmanship.
So running for like an internal position.
An internal position. Chairman, minority
to
whip.
make friends so they could get enough votes so they could end up being a chairman of a committee or something like that, right?
Exactly. But of course, it didn't take long before those funds started to be being abused.
So members of Congress can solicit money, solicit contributions either to their campaign or to their leadership PAC, right?
Or sometimes both.
Or both. Yeah, I'm sorry. Right. Both.
Why limit yourself?
Exactly. And on top of that, they've got their congressional salary and all the money that goes for the congressional office and staff and all those perks, right?
Exactly. And, a lot of the people who contribute to leadership PACs, for example, are lobbyists and members of trade associations who want something. And they know perfectly well what leadership PAC funds are used. They know that members of Congress are using these, many members, not all members, but many members are using these PACs for personal use. But, they're happy to help contribute to that because that keeps them having a closer relationship with that member of Congress.
Any other examples of members of Congress, some of the outrageous things they've done with their money?
Yeah, well, there's one example
you talked about on 60 Minutes.
One of the other things that members of Congress can do is they can lend their campaign committees money and then they can charge interest for it. So we found that
wait, the PAC lends
the member can take their personal money, lend it to their campaign for their election. This happens frequently, and a lot of members don't charge any interest for that, or they charge low interest. But some members of Congress have charged rather high interest rates. So, for example, Grace Napolitano has charged her campaign committee 18% interest for money that she loaned her campaign, resulting in a payment she made about over $200,000 on that loan. So she brought in a lot of money. Another representative.
Wait, you can get a loan at a bank for 1% today, right? Or 2%? I don't know.
Something considerably lower.
A lot less than 18%.
A lot less than 18%.
18% is credit card level interest.
And Representative Paul Brown of Georgia, a Republican, loaned his campaign committee money to and has collected, he loaned himself $309,000 and then collected nearly $29,000 in interest after telling the Federal Election Commission that he wouldn't be charging any interest at all.
Good Lord. And it's just, every time we talk about these violations in Congress, it's just, why isn't there some ethics committee or somebody you could go to and say, now here's the evidence, and then have them take some action. But that never happens, right? They just protect themselves.
They protect themselves, and then you have the problem with the dysfunctional FEC. And if we had a more vigorous FEC that was really doing enforcement and was doing random audits of campaign committee funds, we'd really see members shape up. But we don't have those things right now.
Yeah, well, at least we know what's going on. Thanks to CREW, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, and Melanie Sloan, who just celebrated your 10th anniversary, right? Wasn't it?
Yes, we did.
The party? I was at the party. I couldn't remember how many years it was. Your calls, your questions, your comments, welcome at 866-55-PRESS. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show. That's TAWKRTV. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is 26 minutes after the hour here. It is the Bill Press Show on a Friday morning. Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington. Melanie Sloan, founder and executive director, here in the studio with us. Melanie, what this latest scandal and that you've been working on for a long time? You just said it's nothing new. It's been going on and on. But the problem is it's been going on for so long. What about the ethics committees, either in the Senate or the House? Do they function?
Only if it's just so beyond the pale. Like when we had the problems with Senator John Ensign, who'd had the affair with his campaign staffer who was married to his chief of staff, and it was a huge scandal.
And his parents were giving
the $90,000 severance payment. Then they did. Then they actually were prepared finally with they had a special counsel.
So it's got to be like really, really bad.
Really, really bad. But short of really, really bad, it is very hard for them to do anything. And I think it's like junior high school almost over there. They never want to sit in judgment of their colleagues. It's very hard to ask for your colleague's vote one day and be sitting in judgment of them the next. None of them feel like this is why their constituents sent them to Washington to work on these issues. You can be sympathetic to that. It's like thinking about ethics isn't, what most people, they come to Congress maybe to work on agriculture or some other kind of thing. But on the other hand, most Americans really care about the ethics of Congress. It's in the 2012 elections, there were polls showing that Americans, this was like their second issue, was the ethics and corruption in government. And they really want to see clean government. And, we see these kinds of things and people become more and more discontented and dissatisfied with their members of Congress. And I think members really ought to say that ethics ought to be a primary issue for them, ethics and campaign finance issues, because they want people to trust them. And this is really something that undermines trust.
So when you see that, as we did last week or earlier this week, that Congress is down now to 12% approval rating, some of that has to do with the shutdown, obviously, and but some of it has to do with these issues that you're dealing with, right?
Yeah. When you ask a large percentage of the American public, they will say about members of Congress that they think they're there to serve their own interests rather than their constituents' interests. And then you see stories like this, and you see other things where members of Congress, their family members become lobbyists. Huge numbers of them become lobbyists and make a ton of money by lobbying Congress and relying on their family relationships. And, that's just the kind of thing that makes you just throw up your hands in disgust.
But at least half of them now, when they get out of Congress, they stay here in town and just become lobbyists. Melanie Sloan, she is on top of it. Crew is on top of it. It's citizensforethics.org.
This is the Bill Press Show. Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
You bet it is. 33 minutes after the hour. Friday morning, October 25, The Bill Press Show, coming to you live from our nation's capital on your local progressive talk radio station and on TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKR-TV. Coming to you from our nation's capital, I think I said that already, and brought to you today by the United Steelworkers and their international president, Leo Gerard, the colorful, outspoken Leo Gerard, the United Steelworkers, North America's largest industrial union, representing over 1.2 million active and retired members. Find out more about their good work at usw.org. The headline says it all. Historic high. Most Americans getting high. 58% of Americans now want marijuana legalized. I think that's all because of the good work of NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, and their executive director, Alan St. Pierre. Alan, good work.
Yeah, thank you. I have to call my mom and affirm that for her.
Yeah, you're out there spreading the word, and look at, but that is up 10% over last year.
The Gallup demographers tell me that there's almost nothing they poll that goes up or down 10% in one annual year. So this is a trend that's been going up. When NORML was founded in 1970, 10% of the public supported legalization.
Whoa, what? 10%?
10% in 1970. When I got there in 1991, it was around 18% of the public supported legalization. The big increase, Bill, happens in 1996 when your fellow Californians voted for medical marijuana. That's when the curve really starts to go up. That goes up to 36% by 1996. And now we find ourselves at about 58%.
Yeah, and 48%.
Remarkable.
48% less. Really is. But I want to stress, this is not medical marijuana, right? This is not decriminalization.
This is not
marijuana.
Industrial hemp.
This is not hemp. This is all the way.
This is ganja. We can now start using the terminology, not cannabis, not marijuana. We're talking about ganja.
And this is not just Colorado and Washington State.
This is a national poll. Now, we see that on the West Coast and the East Coast, a lot of the states are polling well into the 60 percentile.
Wow.
My home state of Massachusetts is up to 63% in favor of just outright legalization.
What? So what's going to happen with this? I mean, what can you do with this? Can you go state by state by state? Do you go to Congress, or what do you do?
Well,
it's really state laws.
It really is. We're taking 98% of all arrests happen at the state level. So federal government only is involved in 2% of all arrests, and those are the big boys and people who come across the border. So for all intents and purposes, this is a state's issue. So there are 7 bills pending in Congress. None of them are going anywhere, obviously, under the House leadership. So looking at 2014, it looks like Oregon and Alaska will be voting for legalization. But frankly, it's 2016. I would say that that's the pot plebiscite year, because not only will we have Oregon likely if they don't pass it in 2014, but we would have the big enchilada, California, which only by 3 percentage points. Only 3 percentage points. We're going to make those 3 percentage points up, no doubt about it, this time around.
Let me tell you, I've voted for it every single time it's been on the ballot in California.
Since 1972. Lamar, if you did it way back then. So California's vetted this issue more than any other state. The other
Hello, Bill. Were you smoking pot in 1972?
Well,
or can you remember?
Let me put it this way. I was smoking so much pot, I don't remember that initiative in 1972.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
So we're looking at those states. We're looking at
I didn't vote against it.
that much he knows, no matter what
you
happens.
didn't do that.
Right.
He's absolutely sure of that. Instinctually, didn't do it. But I think that California and Oregon are going to be joined, Massachusetts and Maine. The other half of that, the other leg of the two-legged stool I'd suggest here is the presidential sweepstakes. Because whether it's Republicans or Democrats, those who are starting to put their toe in the water, they're already contacting groups like NORML, and they're taking nuanced positions, but they are in favor of reform. So whether it's a states' rights position, like maybe Mr. Paul would be taking, or maybe a more full-throated liberal position, like maybe Mr. O'Malley could take, but for the first time in our lifetimes, we're going to see somebody in the ascendancy into the presidency who's likely going to be favor legalization, or at least some reform therein.
I want to live long enough to see a candidate for president of the United States.
A serious candidate.
A serious candidate for president of the United States. Right.
Yeah, not a third party at the moment. Yeah, right. That's why, I acknowledge we live in a duopoly.
Not a Dennis Kucinich. Somebody who's got and I love Dennis.
Yes.
Sure, yeah.
But somebody who's a serious candidate to be president of the United States, come out for the legalization of marijuana. I want to see that.
We could well see it.
It seems like this has sort of taken the same path as gay marriage a little bit. And I mean, I'd be curious to hear what you think about that, because there was a time that you just, as a politician,
the two go together.
Well, yeah.
There's a lot of pot smoking at same-sex marriage.
But there was a time.
I've been told.
Yeah. As a politician, you could not really take a stand on gay marriage. You'd avoid taking that.
Right,
and now it's just kind of like that dam has broken. It is wide open, and people have that issue sort of dead and gone.
Here's the example I would throw out. I've been at NORML 20 plus years. So 6 years ago, politicians wouldn't take our money. Well, they'd return the check. They return the check. Can you believe that in American politics they return the check?
That's amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 4 years ago they started calling for the checks. Today they want the money and to write the bills as well. So it's kind of a fait accompli. It seems like they too are moving in that direction as well, and from both parties.
I want to ask you about Alaska. I'm just curious. Now, I've never been to Alaska, but I have this impression if there's a last place you could enforce marijuana laws, it would be Alaska.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's so damn big.
There's like one police officer for every 50,000 people spread across hundreds of square miles.
Yeah, right, exactly. So
Alaska,
isn't it in effect already legal in Alaska?
For all intents, it is since 1975.
Do they grow it there?
It is a medical marijuana state, so you can grow your own. So that's a legal source for those who use it for that purpose. But since 1975, under a Supreme Court decision, a state Supreme Court decision, it's been highly decriminalized. At one point, the law right now is you can have 2 ounces of marijuana, no fine, zero penalty. So there is no place you can walk in and buy it like you can alcohol and tobacco. But that's why I think this next election season, 2014, Alaskans are probably going to vote for legalization.
All right, potheads, head for the phones here. You can, your questions, your comments about your state or whatever, 866-55-PRESS, always welcome. Now, let's come local here. Marion Barry, former Mayor Marion Barry, still in the city, still alive, mayor for life.
Mayor for life.
And still on the city council. Yesterday came out and said he wants legislation here in the District of Columbia which would allow people to grow pot in their own backyard, right?
Yesterday there were hearings, the second in 2 days here in D.C. for decriminalizing marijuana. There's a bill pending, but as you can see,
decriminalization.
But as you can see, bubbling below the surface is a want for actually being able to legalize it, to be able to grow your own, like we can all brew our own beer.
Yeah.
And right now, I believe 11 of the 12 city council people are co-sponsors of the bill, and the mayor supports it.
What? For
decriminalization.
Oh, decriminalization. Okay. And the mayor. But how about this?
Legalization?
Well, how about growing your own?
That is about the only negotiating point that we really have with them right now, is that we certainly want to be able to grow your own. And there are some on the city council that's their bottom line, is they would just assume not to let you grow your own, just get a penalty. Or a very small one for possessing it. So we might have to give that up in the negotiations, but generally speaking, we'd love to be able to grow 5 or 6 plants in your closet at home.
Closet? You mean with agroponic lights or what?
Exactly.
Oh, okay. I was going to say we don't.
You know a little bit more about this than I thought you did, buddy.
No. But I was just thinking. I never thought about the closet. I was just, we don't have enough sun in our backyard.
Exactly. Nor do I. So the closet would be the space.
We'd have to cut down a big tree, and that would not be good. That would not be cool in the closet.
You grow new trees. More trees are a lot more fun.
All right, now so here's here's the big question. So occasionally on this show, particularly on Fridays, and right at this time, usually on a Friday, we've had people from Hendrick's Gin come in. We've had Anchorstein Beer here, and we've sampled their products. We've twice had the guy come in to give us the best wines for summer or the best wines for best beers for summer. And
I've run into Greg a number of times coming in
beers
here.
for the Greg beers for the fall. He was in last time. We've had wine people in at least once, right?
Yeah.
With samples of wine, everything to drink,
whiskey, scotch,
and scotch. We had a Scotch guy in here too. So could we do a tasting here for 2 or 3 or 4 different brands or available samples of marijuana? And if we did, what would happen to us?
Well, I guess there'd be 2 routes. One, if we were all medical...
Could you bring it in?
If we were all medical patients here in D.C., we could be doing it. We could actually be using cannabis legally, since thankfully, I presume none of us have illnesses that need medical marijuana.
No, I've got this cold that I'm trying to shake.
Yeah. I have a doctor that you need to be
I can't
talking
see
to.
you so good anymore. This is damn glaucoma.
I thought you were engaged in preemptive glaucoma treatment here. I thought that was
That's
All right.
But if it was decriminalized, and we've done this in other parts of the country where it's not legal, but we've gone, and I've done live radio shows where we've done samples up in Boston, banned in Boston, where we have done live samples with marijuana. And if the police did come in, it's a $100 fine. So we've all got a C-note in our pocket and just say to the cops, if you were to bust us, here's your $100 and take our marijuana. So we've done live taste tests on the radio before.
But this is for medical marijuana?
Look at Bill getting excited.
No, this was not medical. None of us at the table claimed a medical
but you
need.
still did it.
Yes, we did. And in fact, they do it at 4:20 most Friday afternoons in Boston on this rather secretive radio show.
And did the cops come in?
No. In fact, this has been going on for years in Boston. And it's well known. It's a public radio show.
How many times have you done it?
Myself only once, but they do it all the time up there. Just about every Friday at 4:20.
What are you doing next Friday?
Looking for a gig up in Boston, Bill?
Oh, no. I want to do it here. I want to do it here. Oh, man. I
can just see the bong and the vapor pen sponsors lining up
Yeah,
right
man.
now.
There's a whole new world of sponsorships.
High
Bill.
times, cannabis
Yeah.
culture. Oh my word!
Come on now.
We're
I like
cooking.
this.
We're cooking here on a Friday morning here with Alan St. Pierre from NORML. You want to join the fun? 866-55-PRESS. We'll be right back.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show. Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
11 minutes before the top of the hour here, we're talking pot, we're talking marijuana, we're talking the fact that 58% of Americans now want marijuana legalized. Alan St. Pierre, he's the guy with a leaf on his jacket, head of NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. Before we go to the calls, Alan, I want to ask you, so like in Colorado, in Washington State, where's the stuff coming from? Is it grown in those states? Does it have to be grown in those states? Are we still importing it, or what's our source?
If you're a medical patient in those states, you're getting it from locally grown marijuana. But because that market's going to explode right now, there's a good chance that in the interim, before large cultivation centers can be scaled up, they're probably going to be drawing it from other states and probably up from South and Central America through Mexico. Where 60% of all marijuana still comes from.
Still comes from. Yeah. I mean, that's one thing we ought to do is grow our own, right?
Of course. Talk about domestic bliss.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like wine. Why should we be importing grapes from
In fact,
Mexico,
when the initiative comes up in 2016 in California, I think it literally will be called Regulate Marijuana Like Wine. And it's going to use the same model of a locally sourced product, et cetera, et cetera.
And some of those same counties, by the way?
Very similar.
Mendocino County, yes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, where there happens to be a big pot crop, I can tell you. Robinson is in West Lynn, Oregon. Hey, Robinson, good morning.
Good morning. I'm a refugee of the late great AM 620, Portland, Oregon.
Oh, wow. Yes, indeed. Okay.
I know that politics is a messy process, like making sausage and the legislation. And one messy thing I see about growing pot in your closet is the fire hazard. So many stories about fires started by people who haven't implemented a licensed, inspected process. And my second, because I know you're short on time, I appreciate your commenting both on the fire hazard and increased carbon consumption as a result of running more heat, burning more electricity. It really needs to be grown outdoors in the sunlight, doesn't it?
Good questions, Robinson. Yeah.
Yes, no doubt that unless you have really well certified equipment, then you could have a fire because the heat is really quite intense to be able to generate what's needed to grow marijuana in a closet. So his point's very well taken. And ideally, from an economic point of view, surely it should be grown outdoors. I mean, just like barley, wheat, corn, it is a pennies on the pound commodity. If you have to grow it indoors, and I've seen 100,000 square foot operations, it's going to cost about $1 per gram to produce.
Jeanette is in Chicago, Illinois. But in other words, if you can grow it outdoors, right?
Indeed. That would be the best economically and ecologically.
How does it do in cold weather?
Not very well. It would have died last night, just like that, here in D.C. because of frost.
All right. Jeanette's in Chicago. Hey, Jeanette.
My reasons for thinking that marijuana should be legalized come from a health standpoint. There are some significant and scientifically valid studies that show that smoking marijuana or using medical marijuana or any marijuana use helps significantly with symptoms of MS, chemo drugs, and epilepsy. And I think that it's just criminal that we don't allow people to use a substance that can really help them.
That's interesting, Jeanette. So is there evidence of that, Alan?
Oh, indeed. There are 22,000 studies of marijuana. We've studied marijuana more than the atom at this point. And she's fortunate. Her legislature and governor just passed a bill and signed medical marijuana. Illinois just became the 20th state for legal medical marijuana.
But this idea that it could be actually a preventive kind of thing and keep you healthier, right, and prevent getting certain diseases, that's been...
Yes, over the last 3 or 4 years, there's been a lot of research regarding cancer and spasmodic diseases, as she mentioned.
So maybe part of the Affordable Care Act would be, right? We're going to keep you healthy. We're going to pay for your...
Oh, the irony. The best,
We're going to pay for your pot habit and keep you healthy. Yeah. Well, there we go. Boy, I want to see Congress tackle that one. Oh, man. Well, you have planted some seeds here this morning, which will sprout on the Bill Press Show. Next time you come back, maybe we will enjoy the product.
That would be fine.
Alan St. Pierre here from NORML. It is NORML, NORML.org. Producer Peter Ogburn, it's up to you now.
Okay.
We'll be right back with a parting shot.
This is the Bill Press Show. The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
Well, you know, President Obama's private phone doesn't ring too often, but it sure did Wednesday morning. He answered it, and he got an earful from German Chancellor Angela Merkel. She was calling after reading in Der Spiegel that records released by Edward Snowden revealed NSA had been listening in to conversations on her private cell phone. She was livid, told Obama to knock it off. Now, for its part, the White House will only say that Obama and Merkel did indeed talk about this subject, and they're not now spying on her phone and will not in the future. They won't comment on whether or not they did in the past, which means, of course, that they did. Now, Germany's the third country to raise hell about NSA. A month or so ago, the president of Brazil, remember, Brazil canceled her visit here because of our spying on them. France got really outraged earlier in the week when it was reported we were spying on them. Now Germany, and The Guardian reports today that we have been spying on the private cell phones of 35 different world leaders. How many more countries have to complain before President Obama steps up and admits that NASA is out of control. Have a great weekend, folks. See you back here again
This
on Monday.
is the Bill Press Show.